Blast this Christmas music. It's joyful and triumphant.
Jim Carrey is
The Grinch.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. You really are a heel. You're as cuddly as a cactus. You're as charming as an eel, Mr. Grinch. You're a bad banana with a greasy black peel. You're a monster, Mr.
Are we actually
Vrenick.
really going to do the actual song?
You're a monster, Mr. Vrenick. Your heart's an empty hole. Your brain is full of spiders. You've got garlic
the amount
in
of
your
jokes
soul,
I could make
Mr.
about that
Vrenick.
specific lyric, Tanner. But
I
I
wouldn't
won't because
touch
you'll
you
get
with
mad at
a
me like last
39
time.
and a half foot pole. You're a cool one, Mr. Sullivan. Hi, welcome to Bomb Squad Matinee, episode number I don't give a shit. I am your host and master ceremony, Tanner Richard Kraft, and with me I have...
I'm Tim M. Sullivan.
I am your annual Whoville holiday cheermeister because I'm all decked out in holiday Spider-Man gear.
You're getting dick down?
Go fuck yourself.
And we were talking about the Ron Howard movie, The Grinch. Before we get into talking about the movie, what the fuck did I make the warm-up question? What's your favorite Dr. Seuss story?
Yeah.
Yes, that is correct.
Tim, what's your favorite Dr. Seuss story?
So my real answer is probably How the Grinch Stole Christmas. It's definitely the story that I'm the most familiar with. But for this conversation, I'll go ahead and say The Lorax. That's definitely a story that I think is like, it's very well made in the way that it's educating children on like the ways that companies are doing damage to the environment and like raising awareness in a way that I think is very good. It definitely was like a movie it was a story that was eye-opening to me. I haven't watched the movie because it looks like dog ass, but the original story and the short film that came with it, pretty good. Back to you, Tanner.
Good answer, good answer. We don't care about Joe's answer, so we're going to skip straight to me. Joe, go ahead. What's your favorite Dr. Seuss story? All right, thank you, Joe. All right, so anyway.
You know how the Grinch stole Christmas in this movie? I'm going to steal your life. I'm going to come over there and I'm just going to stab you.
Bitch, I hope the fuck you do.
All right, okay. Joking aside, I'll answer the actual question. So, my fucking honorable mention. I do have an honorable mention.
Sorry, you have a fucking honorable mention.
I do have a fucking honorable mention.
I have a fucking honorable fucking mention.
All right, so here's my honorable mention. My honorable mention. Actually, I have two honorable mentions. One is Hop on Pop, solely because there was a running bit in my SAT study group. I don't know what started it, but this group that I was with like had an obsession with like throwing the words hop on pop on things to a point where we're fucking studying for this ACT prep like stuff. We're studying for the ACT, and just out of fucking nowhere, just within this group, one of them starts playing the Price is Right theme and just like starts singing "Hop on Pop" to the tune of the Price is Right. I don't know what the fuck they were on.
Drugs, probably.
Probably, but you know what? It was so fucking funny and caught me off guard that I have to mention it, and I have a soft spot for that story because of it. The one honorable mention that's actually a serious one is the Sneetches. It's a really good story. Teaches children at a very young age that racism is bad. So in a way, it's a lot like the movie Green Book. I wanted to see how Tanner specifically would react to that.
You can't say these things, dude. You can't be saying these things.
Look at you. Mr. says so many fucking controversial things in a fucking episode.
You really gonna say this on Al Gore's internet?
Yeah, I'm gonna say this on Al Gore's internet because this is 2001. Damn it.
Space Odyssey?
My actual. Yes, but my actual answer to this question is it's Green Eggs and Ham. Come on, how could it not be Green Eggs and Ham? It's a very entertaining story. This man just harasses this guy who just doesn't want to try this fucking moldy ass looking shit that is actually edible. And he will stop at nothing to get him to try this goddamn food. And you're rooting for this guy because the guy who's like not willing to try the food, he's kind of an asshole. This is also a very good story about peer pressure, but in the end, the villain wins. It's a fun story. I like Green Eggs and Ham. I've always liked it as a kid. I guess The Cat in the Hat's an honorable mention, but I didn't grow up with that one as much. I grew up with the Mike Myers movie, unfortunately. Back to you, Tanner.
Son of a bar.
Good answers. Good answers. For me, it's kind of stuck between two. I'm a big fan of Horton Hears a Who. I like elephants. I like dudes named Horton.
Hell yeah.
That's on my Grindr profile. I like dudes named Horton. But for me, I think the answer has to be, this is a bit of a generic answer because it's obviously the single most iconic Dr. Seuss story. But I loved it as a kid. The Cat in the Hat. And if I dare be more specific, I specifically mean the Mike Myers version, specifically the scene where he goes, where they're like, "Whoa, this is like a ride! This is like a ride in an amusement park!" And then Mike Myers goes, "You mean like," movie pauses, "Universal Studios?" Ka-ching! And then the movie plays again. That scene lives in my head, rent free. Every time I close my eyes, there's Mike Myers going, "Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching." Cat in the Hat, good. Not really. That movie's actually bad. That movie was so bad that the Seuss estate forbid any more live-action adaptations of Dr. Seuss's work, which is a shame because the one we're talking about today, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, I think we can all generally agree, is still maybe the best adaptation of a Dr. Seuss story.
Yeah.
I guess we'll get into that more, starting with Joe V. And if memory serves me correctly, I believe you also have a childhood-related story about this movie.
Yeah, I was going to save that for general discussion. I'll actually discuss my thoughts on the movie first and foremost.
Okay.
But I want to address something that you said right there about this particular version of The Grinch being the best adaptation of a Dr. Seuss thing. If we're not counting any of the animated short films prior to this, then I would agree with you. If we're counting those, you are dead fucking wrong, my friend.
Yeah.
Those aren't adaptations. Those are straight retellings. I think you need to at least be a little...
Best feature adaptation.
Best feature adaptation, 100%, because, like, as much of a cult thing as Cat in the Hat is, it's not that good, objectively speaking.
It's a bad
the Lorax
movie.
Sucks.
It's bad in a way that's fascinating.
Yeah.
The Lorax is bad. The Horton Hears a Who movie's fine, I guess.
I like the part where they all go, "I can't fight this feeling anymore."
Yeah, and you said that band was REM. It's REO Speedwagon, motherfucker.
No, I'm pretty sure it's REM.
I hate you. That's a different Jim Carrey movie. That's Man on the Moon.
No, I'm pretty sure that was Sonic 2.
There we go.
All right, whatever. But yeah, not even the fucking Illumination Grinch is any good. The song fucking straight up lies in that one. It's like they say he has termites in his smile. His teeth are fucking like making like white strip ads like look jealous. Like his teeth are fucking perfect. Fuck that movie. I really don't like the Illumination one. But I want to talk about this one that we're supposed to be talking about today, the Jim Carrey one, the Ron Howard one. So, I can look at this movie objectively. I'm able to do that. And I can understand why some people don't like this movie. With that said, I am 100% fucking biased. I am biased. I grew up with this movie. I was forced to see this in theaters multiple times. Once against my own will, but I'll discuss that later. I had the action figure line that came out with this movie. There was action figures for this movie. and it's been just a family tradition. Like every year we play this movie. Every time Faith Hill starts playing, I weep like a baby. I have a bias for this movie, so I cannot hate it for the life of me. Even if I didn't have a bias, I don't think I could hate this movie. Because here's the thing. It's like, sure, it gets a little muddled in places. The visuals, you really have to have a certain taste for weird, kind of ugly-looking visuals, because, yeah, this movie is a little ugly to look at. Specifically the makeup, but it's also Rick Baker makeup, so it's good makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Carrey is really good as the Grinch. Yeah, he goes a little too over the top, but I think that's like the one like undeniable fact. It's like everyone really likes Jim Carrey as the Grinch. Sure, he's not as subtle as Boris Karloff, but no one's as fucking subtle as Boris Karloff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm losing my train of thought, but I'll talk about the stuff that I do like about this movie. I am one of those people that kind of likes the weird ugliness of this movie. I like the set design in particular, which I believe is still set up in Los Angeles for the Universal Studio Tour. I think they.
You mean like
in
that. Universal Studios?
There you go, cha-ching. Yeah, it's a good-looking set. I love all the sets in this movie. Props to the set designer team. Again, props to Rick Baker. Like, the makeup is ugly, but it is good-looking makeup, specifically on Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey can act the hell through that makeup, and he's what makes that movie work, and he's supposed to be the thing that makes that movie work. So props to Jim Carrey. I really like the fucking soundtrack of this movie when you hear pop music in it. Shout out to one of Tanner's favorites, the Bare Naked Ladies. They have a song on this. I think Smash Mouth even has a song on this. Rest in peace, Steve Harwell. Yeah. Fucking what else? I don't know. I just also think this is a really funny movie at points too. Probably my favorite running gag is the gag with the cat when he's actually stealing Christmas.
Yeah.
Because one, cat's rock baby, and two, they don't overdo it. They have it in the movie twice within that montage. It's funny the first time. You forget about it because he's doing all these other kind of goofy stuff, and then it comes back and it's even funnier.
Yeah.
Because you don't fucking expect it. So that's my opinion on the Grinch. I'll probably have more to say in general discussion, but movie good. I can't hate this movie, even if I didn't have a bias towards it. Yeah, movie good. Back to you, Tanner.
All right, good shit. Tim, what are your thoughts on the Grinch?
Grinch is a pretty fun time. This, much like Joe, this is a movie that I grew up with. I remember very vividly when it came out, seeing those trailers for it. And like, I remember it was advertised as like Jim Carrey's The Grinch, but then it came out Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas, which I remember as a kid thinking that was weird. I'm like, this isn't the title that they said in the commercial. But in any case, good. It's a good time. Much like Joe, I have nostalgic affection for it, but it is also just like a very fun movie. Jim Carrey just eating the scenery. He is just great for the role. Getting to do all his Jim Carrey stuff. Cranking it up to 11. Joe's also kind of talking about like the ugly look of the movie, which is something that I think is kind of funny about this particular adaptation, because in some ways it kind of looks like it's shot like a horror movie. Like, you have a lot of Dutch angles, and all of that like makeup stuff makes it ugly in this like kind of charming, like almost B-horror way that I do love.
Can I mention one thing now that you bring that up real quick?
Yeah.
There's a bit in this movie that it's not even a scary scene, but it feels straight out of fucking Evil Dead. It's when they're starting the Cheermeister bit, and the mayor is like trying to convince people not to vote for the Grinch, and you cut to like all these reaction shots of like the people in the crowd as this back and forth between Cindy and the mayor happens, and it feels like something out of Evil Dead.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing is like there's like all of these people crammed into this small space, so you get that claustrophobic aspect to it as well. And that also kind of, you know, goes into the themes of consumerism that this particular adaptation is dealing with. That speech that the Grinch gives towards like the end of the second act or whatever, the end of the Cheermeister thing. Like I remember as a kid, like he's just giving his bad guy speech, but then listening to it as an adult, I'm just like, you know, I get where he's coming from with everything he's saying. But yeah, it's a real fun time, and I actually watched the TV version of the movie for this viewing because so some people might know if you watch a movie on TV, sometimes they'll like throw in a deleted scene here and there. Like one prime example that comes to mind is another Jim Carrey movie, Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. There's the scene where he's just supposed to walk through a Cannibal Corpse concert to get to a guy. And on the TV version, it's like this whole set piece where he's crowd surfing through the crowd as Hammer Smash Face is playing, trying to get away from these people who are chasing after him. So sometimes you'll get stuff like that. With this movie, it's like a whole ass extended edition. There's like a bunch of stuff that is not in the theatrical version, and it's mostly just like extensions of gags that kind of go on a little bit too long. Like when he's getting dressed for the Jubilation, he tries on a couple different costumes in the TV version. There's just a couple things like that, but then there's some scenes that like kind of add to like character motivations, like right before he gets the razor as the like gag gift, they show like everybody doing like a little merry-go-round of everybody giving the person to their right a gift, and he's like looking around going, oh shit, I don't have anything. So it's this whole extended gag where he's like trying to figure out what to give Martha May Whovier, and then he just steals Jeffrey Tambor's watch.
Hell yeah, brother!
Which like that's a funny bit, but it's also like it kind of informs the Grinch as being like he does kind of care in this moment, like he wants to be part of what's happening. There's also a scene where there's like a light competition between Cindy Lou Who's mom and Martha May, and it's like continuously getting more and more exaggerated between like the lights. Like they'll turn one thing on and then the other person will turn the other thing on, and at the end it's like Betty Lou Who, she's the victor by like unanimously, and Jeffrey Tambor gets the results, and he's like, the winner by split decision is Martha May Whovier. And like she's fucking crushed that she lost, and he lied about it. So like it is like I get why these scenes were cut, because they kind of don't feel like they fit in the runtime, but they do kind of add to the characters, which I think is interesting. So if you have cable and want to go watch the TV version of the Grinch, might be worth checking out. But overall, this movie pretty fun. Back to you, Taylor.
I was gonna say, you mentioned the light scene in particular. Like they build up to it in the theatrical version, and
Yeah.
it's just never paid off.
Yeah, like there is a payoff in the TV version that got cut.
God, so weird.
Fascinating. All good stuff, boys. I really enjoy this movie. I think it's a lot of fun. I think Jim Carrey's performance is like a solid half of the reason why it's good. It still astounds me to this day that a single man is in that much control over the muscles in his face.
Yeah.
Because I most certainly am not. beyond that, I think what's most fascinating here is that for a Ron Howard movie, this is, and I like Ron Howard as a director, so don't take this as a slight, but for what his typical style of movie looks like, this is perhaps the most visually distinct and visually interesting movie of his entire career. Wouldn't say best, of course. I personally think Apollo 13 is his best movie, and I think most people would agree with that assessment. But this is up there for me in terms of his filmography, and a lot of it, again, has to do with how visually and interesting it is, and the set design, and the costume design, and the makeup, and just in like Tim was saying, the way it's shot is so fascinating. Like, it is shot a lot like a horror movie. I also like how the bloom effect is kind of cranked up in every fucking shot, not in the Grinch's cave. Kind of reminds me of that era when we had games that were coming out for PS3 and PS2, and to make the PS3 version look better, they would just crank the shit out of the bloom effect. That way you knew HD, you know, because brains. That was a deeply fascinating aspect of it. Just visually, just the visual language of the movie in general is very different for a Ron Howard movie. Ron Howard is very much like your bog standard. Again, I say this with love. He is a great director, I think, but he's not exactly known as a director with flair, per se. But there's
talking about, Tanner. Haven't you seen Hillbilly Elegy?
That's enough of that. That's enough of that. Settle down now. Settle down now. Forgot
what
he
about
made
Solo?
Solo is one of the more visually interesting movies of his career.
That's why can't he turn up the brightness?
Yeah, let's not get into that. Everything that happened to Han Solo happened over the course of 3 days. Anyway, The Grinch, great movie. What got to me this time was just think how emotionally resonant it was. You really feel bad for the Grinch. Like, dude's abandoned as a child, as a baby. And thank God there were these two lesbian mothers that picked him up. We stand the lesbian mothers of the Grinch. Which actually reminds me, I think the hardest I laugh in this movie every single fucking time is when he eats that glass plate. And he's like, bye, Santa. Santa, bye-bye. Santa, bye-bye. Kills me. Fucking destroys me. Just like the glass sound, does that crunching glass sound as he bites into it. It's just Santa, bye-bye. Also, Baby Grinch is cute. Fuck the haters.
It's a really good Rick Baker puppet.
It is an excellent puppet. I also sort of like the minor but still there romantic through line the movie has of Martha May Whovier.
Yeah.
Martha May Whovier and the Grinch. It especially kills me every time where it's like, my heart belongs to someone else, and the Grinch is like, me? You talking about me? Yep.
Man, wouldn't it just be so funny that it wasn't actually the Grinch, but it was instead
it was Sidney Lu's dad.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's fucking Tars from Interstellar over there.
No. Martha May Whovier is a monster fucker. It's canon.
100%. That's canon.
She's into dudes that are green.
Yep. And it's I think it is easy being green personally. Anyway, I like the romantic through line, and for me, I think the most striking thing about this adaptation is if you're going to do a feature-length adaptation, if you're going to expand upon the source material in such an expansive way, I think it's the most interesting, and quite frankly, as Ethan put it in our group chat, the only way you can expand the material this way is if you make it a critique on the consumerist attitudes towards Christmas, and specifically making the Who's like they're addicted to like the imagery of Christmas rather than the celebration of being with your family and your loved ones. They're addicted to this idea of Christmas that's only found in a Sears catalog sort of thing. And I think that is the most fascinating aspect of it. And I think it really comes to a head with the proposal scene. It's incredibly striking how it's like, and if you accept this proposal, you'll get a new car. And then it's tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Like that whole bit is absurd. just everything. They're just how consumerist and ugly it is. And if I was the Grinch, I'd get pissed off too. Because, like, first off, the mayor made what was supposed to be the Christmas Cheermeisters moment about him. And secondly, just the entire ordeal is just so gross. Like, everything about the scenes are so gross. Like right off the bat, you have like, for the next 5 minutes, 99% off. And then you get these uncomfortable close shots of like hordes of people running at the camera. It's claustrophobic. You feel like you're about to be trampled.
Or like a scene out of the Thanksgiving movie that came out recently.
Yeah. How are we introduced to Sydney Lou? We're introduced because she's carrying like 30 goddamn presents.
Yeah.
And her father needs to remove one just to look at her.
Yeah.
Like, it almost feels like they're not even getting presents to give to other people. They're just buying presents for the sake of buying presents. It's a hyper, not even capitalistic society, just a consumerist society in a really gross way. And I think making it so the Grinch is, you know, obviously bullied as a child, but he can see through the bullshit and be like, what the fuck is this? This is horse shit.
Yeah.
You just like buying things. You don't like giving things. You just like fucking, you're addicted to buying things. Here is product. Here is product. Now consume product. Consume. And I think expanding upon the material that way creates a much more fascinating and interesting product that quite frankly is more thought-provoking than you would think an adaptation of a Dr. Seuss book would ever be. Not to say that Dr. Seuss doesn't make interesting stuff, but he does make stuff for children. So I think these are a lot of layers there that you can, as a kid, you sort of grasp it. But as an adult, I think, or at least maybe as an older person, like a teenager, you kind of can appreciate and sort of unpack those themes in a more interesting way, especially in a world where I feel like year after year after year, Christmas becomes more of a becomes more of a commercial product than any type of real familial loving celebration. And I think The Grinch is sort of the perfect movie to, at least that I'm aware of, that kind of explores these themes. Other things I want to get out of the way other than what everyone else has said. I really like the performances across the board, not just Jim Carrey. I think Sydney Lou Who, whatever that actress's name is, whose name escapes me right now.
Taylor Momsen,
thank you. I don't know if she ever went on to do anything, but I think she gives go ahead.
I was gonna say she did go on to do a couple things. She was in a couple movies. She had a recurring role.
Well, hold on, isn't she like in a band now?
I was gonna say she had a recurring role on Gossip Girl, but she's most known now for being in The Pretty Reckless.
Yeah,
which is like a goth punk band.
Yeah, they make music, the kind of music I like. So
Cody,
that's
Cody
cool.
Was saying that she's from St. Louis, which
I'm gonna need a source cited on that.
I remember correctly. Yeah, I think Cody might be correct.
I'm Googling it.
I'm Googling it too.
Oh shit, she is.
Yeah, and she's my age, and she's from St. Louis, and she went on to do this. What am I doing wrong?
Good question.
I
love you, buddy.
Anyway, I think that aspects her performance is great. Jeffrey Tambor, who plays the mayor, right?
Yeah.
Love him. Great douchebag. Just great pompous prick energy. Jeffrey Tambor, you're great at playing a pompous prick. Probably because by some accounts, you're also a pompous prick in real life.
I was just about to say.
Who knows how much acting was actually going on here, you know?
He's got the worst fucking attorneys.
George Bluth was not a great man.
I may have committed some light treason. This is when they like prosecute him for his crimes against Christmas at the end of the movie. He's talking to the Grinch in prison and he's like, I may have committed some light jolly trolley treason.
He's talking to the Grinch in prison and he's just like, I haven't had sex in over a month. You know, you've been in here 2 months, right?
Jeffrey Tambor be fucking the Christmas. Listen, that nose is too pristine. this Jeffrey Tambor does not fuck because that nose is too pristine because he doesn't eat pussy. Jeffrey Tambor in this movie does not eat pussy. And that's the problem. That's why Mary May Huvian said no. He's too selfish. Zack Snyder says not canon. Yeah. That's the guts of everything I want to say. I'm sure I'll come up with more in general discussion, which we'll get to after a brief commercial break. You're saying a brief commercial break. Welcome back from that ad break for another ad. Moviepalette.com. You can get one like this. I have Punch Drunk Love back there. You can order ones for movies like The Grinch, Swiss Army Man, The Avengers, and if the movie you want isn't on there, you can pay a little extra and get a custom one made of the movie you want. And while you're checking out, enter the code SQUAD15 to save 15% on your order. You won't regret it. Now back to the show. I just remembered what actually might be the funniest line of the movie, not the glass clenching thing. It's when he's going through his like to-do list and he's like, solve world hunger?
Oh yeah.
Tell no one.
Yeah.
5:30, jazzercise. 6 o'clock, dinner with me. I can't cancel that again.
It's so good. There are so many scenes where Jim Carrey has to just tell these. He has no one to bounce off of but a fucking dog, and he just kills it.
You mentioned the dog. And I immediately think of him acting opposite of him, and he's doing like the Spielberg parody, where he's got like the baseball cap and he's in the Santa suit.
Well,
he's just doing great stuff.
This kind of goes back to something we were talking about a few episodes ago, which is lines from movies that we quote on a daily basis. And one of the lines that Cody will say to me whenever I like boop her on the nose or something, she'll just go, "The audacity, the unmitigated gall." So that one's an absolute zinger. I also love the voicemail that's just like, if you call this number, I'll hunt you down and gut you like a fish.
If you'd like to fax me, press the star key.
I fucking love I can't remember what the fucking refrigerator bit was in this movie other than is it running? I just remember the name of the refrigerator being so stupid.
Yeah.
I think it's, if I remember, because I've seen this so many times, it's Sub-Zero Televator, I think is what it's called.
Something like that.
You know, Joe, speaking of seeing it so many times.
Let's talk about the first time.
I gotta tell this story again because this was on our long lost Fablemans episode. So it's lost.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say I have to tell it again, so that way this is out there. But people need to know about the first time that I saw this movie. So Tim was talking about the advertisements for this and his thoughts on the movie. I vividly remember those advertisements, specifically the damn teaser trailer that had "In the Hall of the Mountain King" playing over like footage of this movie, and just. Again, this movie is shot like a fucking horror movie, like uncomfortable close-ups of Jim Carrey in that makeup and getting like real close and making scary ass faces. So 3-year-old, 4-year-old me was not having any of that shit. I was just like, nope, I'm out. No, don't make me see this movie. I was scared shitless. I did not want to go see this movie. I was dragged to the theater to see this, and I put up a fucking protest. I was like, I'm not having this.
I will not see it here or there. I will not see it anywhere.
Exactly, damn it. I do not like Jim Carrey's Grinch. I do not like it. Mom, I am. So, yeah, no, I get dragged to see this fucking movie, and I just refuse to fucking look at the screen because I'm terrified of Jim Carrey's ass face. So many uncomfortable, like, close-ups of villains that year, too, because I remember, like, one of the previews for that movie was, like, 102 Dalmatians, and there's an uncomfortable close-up of Glenn Close's face, and she does that laugh, and it scared the fucking shit out of me. So I'm just like, I am not having any of this, Mom. Get me out of here. Get me the fuck home.
I'm a Brennan. Get me out of here.
But so I basically watched like the reflection of it in the like projector window for like most of it. Eventually I turned around and actually watched the damn thing and had fun, and I've been able to watch it since. But the funny part of that story is, like, maybe 15 some odd years later, I'm at home. I'm back in Iowa. I'm having Christmas with my family. And we were talking about this movie specifically. And my mom was like, yeah, I remember when we first saw this movie. It's like, I think this is where you discovered your love of movies because you were so fascinated by the projectors. Like, you could see it, like, coming out of the back, and you were just like, I think that's where your love for movies came from. And I was just like, Mom, do you not remember the protest I put up not wanting to see this movie?
You went like
no. She's like, no, why? I was like, I was fucking terrified of this movie. Do you not remember this? It's like, no, I don't.
You went like full Dakota Johnson and Ellen. That's not what happened, Mother.
Yeah, no, I had to explain to her. It's like there was like a preview of it on, like, I think it was like Flintstones and Viva Rock Vegas or some shit that I saw, and it scared the shit out of me. And I was like, I don't want to see this. Don't take me to see this. So I didn't want to watch the movie because I knew he was going to get up close to the camera and get, like, really fucking scary. And since then, my mom has felt, like, super bad about it. I'm not mad at her. I'm not mad at her at all.
You are disappointed, however.
I just think it's very funny in retrospect that for, like, instead of me, like, being, like, absolutely genuinely terrified of a movie, my mom thought I discovered my love of movies through Ron Howard's The Grinch. But no, that is not the case. I love you, Mom. I'm sorry, but it's not. It's very funny though, and that's why I'm telling this story here. God, I will say, this movie, along with, like, other movies that Universal put out that year, they don't make movies that look like this anymore. They don't make movies like they used to.
Well, no, they don't shoot on film anymore. They typically shoot on digital.
True.
Yeah, it sucks.
You suck.
You suck!
Damn right I do.
There we go.
Jesus Christ, Tanner.
What did you expect?
So I brought this up on the Spider-Man Sam Raimi episode forever ago. There was a period in my early childhood where I was reading a lot of novelizations of movies that were coming out, and this is one of the ones that I read, which is very funny in concept. The novelization of the movie of How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
It's just the picture book, Tim. It was just the picture book.
It's not just a picture book. It got word too. It got word. No, but, like, it was like a legit, like, probably 200-page book, and I distinctly remember one of the bits in the book was it was like after the two kids were coming back from the mountain going, we saw the Grinch, and the mayor is trying to get everybody to calm down. He's just like, we're gonna expand our sales 1 hour, and they're like, we're open 24 hours a day. They're like, we're gonna make days 25 hours now.
That's so fucking funny. 25-hour days. You know, speaking of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, this is only tangentially related. The shot at the end of the movie where he picks up the sleigh, that's such a superhero-ass shot. I love it. Matter of fact, I just realized saying that out loud that the shot that I'm most intimately reminded of is the shot of Will Stronghold picking up the lunch table in Sky High. Can someone put these two shots, not you, Tim, because you don't do this kind of thing, but I want to put these shots side by side and see how similar they are in terms of composition, because it would not surprise me if they're very similar. You guys know the shot I'm talking about, right? I know Joe does.
I do, yes.
I watched Sky High one time, and it was when it came out.
Tim, I have some great news what we're doing next week for the show.
Canceled.
Okay. Fair enough. My takes about... Never mind.
Side.
Anyway, Tim mentioned novelizations of movies. Speaking of that, when I was growing up, I had the... do you guys remember when it was like read-along books where it was like they'd come with a cassette tape and you'd put it in and you'd read along with like a narrator?
I don't.
How about you read along this?
I hate you, Dan.
I don't recall
ass.
it ever being like a read along thing. I just listened to books on tape. But I believe that this is a thing that exists. I believe you, Joe.
Go to audible.com.
But yeah, no, there was a point in time for like children in like the 90s where it's like they would have like read along books where it's like you'd put in a cassette tape, it would come with like a little book, and you would just kind of follow along with like a narrator who's reading on the tape. They had one for the Grinch, and I had like lines from this movie like kind of just embedded into my head through that, because the VHS had not come out by that point. So it was like my first exposure to like having like sound bites and like movie quotes like as a movie was coming out, just having it directly there. I also had one for the Phantom Menace, on unrelated note.
Is Clint Eastwood in this movie?
No, Clint Eastwood is not in this movie.
Clint Howard.
I'm sorry, Clint Howard.
Yes, Clint Howard is in this movie, and I'm trying to remember the name of his character because he has a. Isn't it like Hubris?
Hubris.
No, it's Hubris. Yeah. Hubris.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was just looking that up on IMDb earlier. Hubris. That one's a good one.
God.
What were you trying to say, Joe?
God, I completely forgot. You know what's a weird bit in this movie? The fact that Mayor Mayhew has had his tonsils removed twice.
Elaborate on that. No.
They never elaborate
that doesn't fucking make any sense, right? Because tonsils are.
Well,
you only have one tonsils.
Well,
you only take them out once.
He goes, see, it's actually a funny story. What happened was, and then it gets cut off, and they never come back to it.
No, he just runs away. What happened was, and then he starts running up the hill to the Grinch cave.
There we go.
And they bring it up again.
Out, put it back in, and then they took it out again.
They
Tell us
bring
more.
it up again, even. They bring it up again as like he's like asleep and the Grinch is stealing Christmas. And then he makes the mayor kiss the dog's ass.
Yeah. Max got his salad tossed.
He got cunnilingus.
Oh boy.
Tanner's just like, what has this podcast become?
Stop it.
Twist.
Get some help.
Apparently, do you guys know that Jim Carrey like had a CIA agent help him with his acting in this movie?
No.
He found what it was is that he found the latex skin so uncomfortable that he like went to a CIA guy and was like, "Yo, how do you resist torture?"
Oof.
Now I'm trying to imagine, because the other fun fact about this too is they were shooting Man on the Moon around the same time, so he's playing Andy. So it's Jim Carrey playing Andy Kaufman, playing Jim Carrey, playing the Grinch. It's like 4 layers of acting. What layer is this?
So, I think by the time they were actually shooting the Grinch, he was done with Man on the Moon. But for all the screen test stuff and the makeup test stuff, he was still in that. Because as you know, when he played Andy, I don't know if for the audience that doesn't know, there's a documentary on Netflix called Jim and Andy that gets into it pretty well. But essentially, Jim Carrey on the set of Man on the Moon basically went full fucking method. So much so that, like, Andy Kaufman's family visited and was like, well, yeah, it was nice talking to my dad again. Which is maybe the single most disturbing thing I've heard in my life as far as acting goes.
I was gonna say, that's 6 layers of fucked up.
The only more disturbing acting relating thing I can think of is the entirety of the rehearsal. Anyway. So, yeah, Tim just got some shivers. Basically, like what Joe said, the screen tests and the makeup tests for this movie, because Jim Carrey is going full Andy Kaufman, pretending he was Andy Kaufman fully when he did the screen test for this movie, because I used to erroneously say when he auditioned for this movie, Jim Carrey did not need to audition for the Grinch. Jim Carrey was offered the motherfucker.
Jim Carrey got a phone call.
Jim Carrey got a phone call, said, yo, you want to be the Grinch? And he was like, can't cancel again. Anyway,
I was gonna say, by this point in his career, especially, yeah, no, he's getting a phone call. He doesn't need to audition.
yeah, he did, but he did need to audition for Man on the Moon.
That's fair.
Mostly because I believe the director who was
It was Milos Forman.
Milos Forman was not convinced he could do it.
Fair.
And also, apparently they did not get along on set because of Jim Carrey's full method bullshit, and Milos was like going full, why don't you try acting, my dear? Anyway.
Let me make my movie, Andy! You hear him screaming that at one point.
You do. So, to get this deep, it's basically Jim Carrey as Andy Kaufman, but he can't escape Andy Kaufman. He's in too deep at this point. So then he decides to be, well, what? Andy Kaufman plays Jim Carrey, and then that Jim Carrey plays the Grinch. It's terminal actor brain bullshit. It's terminal actor brain.
And that's why I believe that man is a crazy person. And I don't think he's deep at all. Whenever I see like quotes by Jim Carrey and everyone's like, man, Jim Carrey's so deep. He's just like, he's speaking the truth. No, he's fucking insane is what he is. Sure, there's like a kernel of truth maybe in there, but he's lost it. He lost it in 1998 when he was shooting Man on the Moon.
So, yes, but if you... this is a slight tangent. If you watch the tail end of that Jim and Andy documentary, it makes me think that it was all bullshit.
God.
Which, to be fair, would be the most Andy Kaufman thing imaginable.
Probably.
Do you know that Jim Carrey is basing his voice off of Sean Connery in this movie?
That does not shock me in the slightest.
I can see that.
Kind of explains the...
So Bryce Dallas Howard shows up in this movie.
Someone else, yeah, who is she, like one of the teenagers at the beginning?
No, so funnily enough, she gets like on Letterboxd, she gets a higher billing than those two teenagers. No, she's literally in one shot at the end of the movie, and it's like they light the tree up again, and it's like they cut to a reaction shot, and she's just like a who that has braces on.
Yeah, 'cause she would have been like, what, 13, 14 when this was made?
I was gonna say, she would have probably been in her mid to late teens by that point.
Yeah. That was Anthony Hopkins?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah! How
Oh.
could you not recognize that voice? I was gonna say, Anthony Hopkins has a very distinct voice.
He didn't say he was gonna have an old friend for dinner.
Yeah, there we go.
So you know, there's a funny bit in this bit makes me laugh now that I've noticed it. There's a bit in the movie where Anthony Hopkins, well, firstly you have like Cindy Lou Who going to find the truth of like what happened with the Grinch, and you find out his whole backstory, and then it cuts to him. He's climbed up the mountain, fades into Jim Carrey, and it's back in the present. You have this whole backstory told to you, and then Anthony Hopkins just goes, so whatever the reason he doesn't like Christmas, his shoes, whatever. I'm like, wait a minute, dude. We just saw what happened. What do you mean, whatever the reason?
I mean, he don't know.
Also, hold on a second. I just actually got the full story about that legendary Jim Carrey, Andy Kaufman, Jim Carrey Grinch thing. This is just in the trivia thing. Audrey Geisel, Ted Geisel, aka Dr. Seuss's wife, came onto the set for Man on the Moon to see if he'd be right for the part. Because apparently, even though the studio wanted Carrey, the Geisel estate had such a stronghold on the rights that they could only make the movie if they approved of the lead actor. So because he was in so deep, that's what he had to do, the impression of himself as Andy Kaufman doing the Grinch. The funniest things, though, however, is Audrey Geisel did suggest Jim Carrey for the role. You want to hear the other three actors she suggested to play the Grinch?
Oh boy, let's hear it.
We're going to go with the one that makes the most sense. Robin Williams.
Okay.
When I tell you the other two names, you'll understand why I said that one makes the most sense.
All right, hit us. Let's hear it.
Dustin Hoffman. Oh, you're laughing now.
Oh my god. The reason why I'm laughing now is because I'm imagining him doing his Hook voice in that makeup. I want.
All right.
Me, now.
I'm curious to see what voice you'll pick for this one. Apparently the fourth and final actor she suggested was none other than Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say this right now. If they went with Jack Nicholson, there's no way. Like, I would probably have fought harder not to see that movie in theaters if Jack Nicholson played the Grinch.
Jack Nicholson's Grinch just doesn't wear makeup, by the way. It's just Jack Nicholson, I think. Right? Like, there's no way you convince him to do the latex shit.
Cindy,
Probably not.
sweetie, light of my life.
I said, I'm not gonna hurt the tree. I'm just gonna take it up the hill and fix it.
And bash its
I'm gonna
fucking
fix
brain.
it right the fuck up! God. Yeah, no, there's no fucking way I would have seen that movie in theaters. I would have just hung out in the lobby as a 4-year-old.
Yeah. I didn't know this movie won an Oscar. That's cool.
What did it win an Oscar for?
Makeup.
That's what I figured.
Makes sense.
Which makes sense since, from what I understand, this movie has the most principal characters and just background characters in general, and makeup. If not ever, at least since The Wizard of Oz.
Watching it with, like, knowing how much fucking makeup work would have had to go on into every single actor was kind of insane. Like, on this particular viewing, this was the first time that I, like, noticed when Jeffrey Tambor says that line, you all trusted a little not to be taken seriously, girl, who hasn't even grown into her nose yet. I was like, oh shit, they didn't put makeup on her. She's the only person they didn't fucking put makeup on.
Actually, that's a misconception. It's true that they didn't put makeup on her either. But the funny thing is,
they did put, like, the prosthetic teeth, but, like, that's...
Right.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about that, in every other piece of media Jeffrey Tambor's been in, they've had to put makeup on. That's just what his nose actually looks like.
Yeah, there you go.
It's fucked up.
I'm gonna go back to the thing you mentioned about this movie, it being the movie that has, like, the most prosthetic on actors. We forget that record was topped this year. Guardians 3 topped it.
Oh yeah, that sounds right. Anyway, this reminds me of so Audrey Geisel, again being in charge of the Dr. Seuss estate, had ultimate veto power over elements of the script. Apparently the producer of this movie kept... Oh, do you know where I'm going with this, Tim?
I saw this tweet last night, yeah.
Let's hear it.
So, because Audrey Geisel had ultimate veto power, that meant there were a lot of more adult jokes that were vetoed out of the movie, which is crazy because there is a fair amount. I mean, there's a scene where the Grinch basically motorboats a woman. But apparently in an early draft of the script, there was an inclusion of a Who family that didn't have any Christmas decorations, known as the Who Steins. To the audience that may not get what the joke is there, Stein is a very common ending to Jewish last names. Is that the one you saw last night, Tim? Or
yeah, the Houstines.
Yeah, the Houstines. That's
Austin would have
what
loved
the
that
fuck?
joke.
That's so fucked up.
Shame.
One last bit of trivia. Because this is funny. Jim Carrey took up smoking to deal with the stress of this role, but because the yak hair costume was flammable, he often had to use a comically long cigarette holder in order to smoke. So I'm just imagining him with, like, a Cruella de Vil fucking cigarette holder walking around set in the Grinch outfit. And that's funny.
That would be in character too. He would have a comically large cigarette thing.
Yeah, except there's no cigarette in it. It's just he just has the holder.
Yeah.
He's just walking around all like Burgess Meredith in an episode of Batman from the 60s. Even doing the laugh. And he's just out of character just for that.
So, also, by the way, this was Donald Peterman's last movie as a cinematographer before his death in 2011. The reason why it was his last movie is because apparently on the set of Mighty Joe Young, he like broke his back.
Ooh.
Jesus.
Or he had some kind of crazy injury, and he could barely film. And by the end of the shooting, the second unit cinematographer, Keith Peterman, his son, had to do most of it. Also, apparently, Max, the dog, was originally supposed to be CGI, so he could be expressive like in the original cartoon. You know, I gotta say, thank God they didn't do that, because it's so much funnier when Jim Carrey says these fucking outlandish thing and the dog's just like...
Yeah. And then, like, the one time you do get a CGI bit, like, where the eyes bulge out at the butt-kissing thing, it looks goofy and it's funny.
Yeah. You know, I want to talk one thing about Jim Carrey's performance in this. Like it or not, there are people that don't like this performance.
We call them
say
idiots.
This. Yeah, they are idiots. I'll say this. I will take an actor going all out to try and make a performance work over whatever the fuck Benedict Cumberbatch was trying to do with his movie. Have any of you guys actually seen the Illumination Grinch?
No, I value my time more than that.
You value your time more than I do?
I find it baffling just because, like, I feel like Cumberbatch could do a great Grinch. I don't understand what was going on there.
I think it's
He
just
could.
It's just
but,
Illumination being Illumination.
It's like he did an impression on one day, forgot what it was, did a different impression the next day, forgot what that... It's like he's doing a different impression like every single time he came in to record lines, because it's a very inconsistent performance. And like there's even points where it feels like he's trying to emulate Jim Carrey. There's points where it sounds like he's also trying to emulate Boris Karloff at points. Then it sounds like he's trying to do his own thing, which is nothing. He basically sounds like Dr. House. Yeah,
Give me Vicodin.
It's not good. I need Vicodin to watch the fucking Illumination Grinch. Jesus Christ. That movie has so many fucking problems.
Did you know the guy that played Baby Grinch when he was like eight years old? So not the Baby Grinch, but like the
Josh Ryan Evans.
That
was a
grown man.
Yep,
that was a grown ass man. I want to understand. This was his last movie role before he died.
Yeah, I actually recognized him when I watched this movie because, as I've mentioned, I didn't have cable growing up. So basically, whatever was on the immediate stations was on in my house, and my mom
Big Passion's head in the chat.
Yeah, my mom was a big fan of soap operas for a long time, and one of the shows that would be on TV sometimes was a show called Passions.
I was joking. Was it actually Passions?
Yep, he was in Passions, and
no, I mean I knew he was in Passions. I didn't think that's what you were gonna say.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing like bits and pieces of that show. Like I never actively watched it, but I remembered seeing him in that. So when he was in this movie, I was like, oh, he's the guy from that show. Yeah, he was 18 when they shot this. He passed away when he was 20. Very sad.
Because he had a condition that made him small.
Yeah.
I think it's actually the same condition Wee Man has. Wee Man, for those who don't know, is a little person on Jackass.
Speaking of little person actors, specifically ones that are
not a good sentence. Not a good sentence to start off. Just saying that. Choose your next words carefully.
I was gonna say Vern Troyer is in this movie.
Wait, what?
You know that? Yeah, Mini-Me's in this movie.
Where?
There's two Austin Powers actors in this. Mini-Me is like one of the he's one of the marching band people. You see him faint after the infamous "Pucker up and kiss it, Whoville."
That's Vern Troyer?
That's Mini-Me, yeah.
That's crazy.
The other Austin Powers actor that's in this is Mindy Sterling. She's in The Grinch, one of the lesbian moms. But in Austin Powers, you might know her as Frau Farbissima.
They're in the cloud!
That's crazy. I didn't know that. Wait, hold on. I just want to say that on the IMDb page, the dog gets top billing over Jeffrey Tambor.
She gets third billing. Kelly, respect.
Over Jeffrey Tambor. That's fucking funny. How badly did Jeffrey Tambor's agent fuck up? How do you let a dog have higher billing than you?
To be fair,
fucking agents.
To be fair, the dog got higher billing than everybody but Jim Carrey and Cindy Lou's actress.
I could justify.
So I like to think that the dog just had a really, really good agent.
Yeah, it's not that Tambor's was bad. Kelly had a world-class agent.
There we go.
Honestly, the way that I see it, he was just such a good boy or good girl on set that they were just like, nah, we can't have you lower, but we have to have you third billed. Yeah. Come on.
She was best girl.
I want to see what else these writers did.
Because keep in mind too, it's like Jeffrey Tambor was kind of a big name by this point. Molly Shannon was on SNL by this point, well into her career on SNL. Yeah, those are big actors. So getting lower bill under a dog, I mean, woof, pun intended.
All right, so I'm looking at the writers of this movie out of curiosity, and I'm making some interesting discoveries. So, you guys want to know what else the writers of this movie worked on?
What?
Well, their first movie was Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Okay.
And then after that, they made Doc Hollywood.
Okay.
I haven't seen it.
And then, before How the Grinch Stole Christmas, they had a movie come out the year before. A 1999 movie.
Oh, dear God, what is it?
That stars Will Smith.
Oh, my God.
As a matter of fact, it is Wild West. And then after The Grinch, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, they wrote Last Holiday, which is that Queen Latifah movie. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
The Queen Latifah movie?
It's okay.
That it exists.
And then the last movie they ever wrote before they were shot and killed for making this movie was Shrek the Third.
God.
Live and let die. All right. Do we have anything else to say about this movie?
Favorite quote?
There's
a lot of quotable moments.
I right off. It's gotta be for me again. It has to be. Solve world hunger. Tell no one.
That is a good one.
Favorite quote for me. There's a lot that that are my favorites from this. Honestly, Pucker Up and Kiss It Whoville is my favorite that comes to mind, just because of how fucking out of nowhere it comes. Man, the shit they could put in kids movies back in the day.
They used to let you put anything in this shit.
They let you put fucking anything in this.
They let you put J.K. Simmons in movies. They don't let you do that anymore.
True.
Actually, I'm thinking about this right now. I lied. My favorite bit in this movie is not the cat bit, as great as it is. No, my favorite bit is the Grinch's voice echoing off the walls.
That is a good bit.
At the very beginning. Where it's like, he just says, I'm an idiot. And it's just like a completely different point. I'm just gonna whisper. You're an idiot!
That was so funny. God.
Yeah.
Just that reaction after the second time is what sells it. Just,
I think I would still say, like, my favorite line is probably that the audacity, the unmitigated gall. Just there's something about the way he says it that's great. There's a line that I never noticed until somebody was talking about it on Twitter the other day, and I actually heard it when I was watching the movie, where they're on the sled, and he gets on there, and she's like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Are you kidding? The sun's bright and the snow's bitching."
Yeah, he does say the snow's bitching. That kills me.
God.
Speaking of that, that actually reminds me of one of the bits near the end of the movie that made me literally laugh my ass off when he was like, "Get out of the way! I don't have insurance!"
Yeah.
Like, that killed me. I also love out the end where he's like, Arrest me, officer. And he's like, well, you said you were sorry. Bro, he's broke into everyone's homes. What do you mean he said he's sorry? He broke into everyone's house. You gotta at least be like, all right, cuff him. And then you can be like, all right, you served your time, but come on, man.
He's giving it back. He's got respect. You know what? I'll say it. ACAB except for the cop in Whoville.
That's the only I like how also the town has one cop.
Come on, Commissioner Gordon, you're better than that. Yeah, that's a guy that has done voice work as Commissioner Gordon for DC.
Jim Meskimen.
Yep.
Oh, he was also in Apollo 13. Oh. He plays Nigel Thornberry now.
Smashing.
Nigel Thornberry or the Grinch? Who wins in a fight?
Oh, Nigel Thornberry. You kidding?
Grinch got the strength, though.
He's got the strength of
This is
10
true.
Grinches plus 2.
But Thornsby has the stash.
He's got the stash, and he's also got the curry. That's right, Tim Curry, baby.
All right. Final thoughts? Joe, go.
Yeah, again, movie good. Watch it. It's fun. I have a bias, so take my opinion with a grain of salt, but even if I didn't have a bias, I still think it's good.
All right. Jim, final... The fuck?
Tim as Jim Carrey, as Andy Kaufman, as Jim Carrey, as the Grinch, as
All right,
Tim.
As Tim.
All right, Tanner, it's time to put you in a home, Tanner.
Yeah.
What are they selling?
He's selling chocolates.
Chocolate. I'm sorry, Tim. Go ahead.
So, How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Ron Howard is a pretty good film. I would recommend checking it out if you haven't seen it, and preferably if you are under the age of 18, or if you're an adult and you want to look back on a nostalgic classic. It's a pretty fun time. If you have cable, you can DVR it on FX and watch the extended version to get those extra bits. Go check it out. Back to you, Tanner.
I think The Grinch is an excellent adaptation of the source material. I think it's a great movie to watch if you have kids. It's a pretty fun time to watch by yourself, too, if you're in the Christmas spirit. But, you know who else is fun to watch when you're in the Christmas spirit?
Christ.
Him, too. Yes, it is his birthday, after all. But more importantly, you! The person watching / listening to this episode of Bomb Squad Matinee. Thanks for tuning in. If you're listening on any audio platforms, hi. Hope you enjoy. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you very much for watching. How about you mostly on down over to our Patreon and give us a couple bucks. And if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and go down to the comment section below and let me know what's your favorite Dr. Seuss story. What do you think of Mike Myers and Cat of the Hat? What do you think of Jim Carrey and the Grinch? What do you think of the Grinch overall? And finally, would you like to win 2 tickets to Universal Studios? Ka-ching! Because you can't win them here, but would you like to win them anyway? Comment below and let me know. And while you're down there, hit the like button so you know how much you like us. Hit the subscribe button so you know how much you love us. And hit the bell icon so you know exactly when we upload new videos. Thank you again very much for watching. Tune in next week when we talk about
A French masterpiece. Fantastic plan.
See you then, guys. Bye!
Merry Christmas.
Am I just eating because I'm bored?
I slid my ticket across the table and I said, "Sorry guys, I gotta see about a girl."